Hey there. Safety pros, crane operators, and future licensees ever feel like OSHA regulations are a jungle?
Oh, yeah.
Well, today we're hacking our way through the thicket of rules for equipment with lifting capacity under 2,000 pounds. That's right. Even those smaller machines have specific guidelines.
Yep.
This deep dive is brought to you by Safety One Source, helping you navigate the safety landscape. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding OSHA document 1926.1441 and why it matters, whether you're on site every day or studying for that big exam.
It's easy to assume that, those massive construction cranes get all the attention.
Right.
But OSHA is serious about safety no matter the equipment size. What's fascinating is how 1926.1441 weaves in sections from the broader crane and derricks and construction standards, subpart CC.
So even on a seemingly small job, we're still bound by those big league rules.
Yeah.
1926.1441A lays out the specific sections that apply. What kind of stuff are we talking about?
We'd think ground conditions.
Okay.
Is the surface stable enough for safe operation? Then there's power line safety fall protection for anyone working at height during assembly. It all connects.
Okay.
This isn't just about the machine itself, it's about the entire work environment.
Okay, so the context matters.
Yeah.
Now, 1926.1441B gets into the nitty-gritty of assembly and disassembly, especially component choices.
Yeah.
What if you can't stick exactly to the manufacturer's instructions? Say a part needs replacing, but the exact match is unavailable.
That's where 1926.1441B2 comes in.
Okay.
Flexibility with a huge caveat.
Okay.
A registered professional engineer can approve deviations, but they have to be intimately familiar with this equipment and put their okay in writing. No cutting corners. This highlights how safety is engineered into these machines from the start, not just slapped on as an afterthought.
So you're telling me even choosing substitute parts needs that level of scrutiny. And once it's all put together, we can't just fire upright. There's that post-assembly inspection in 1926.1441B2.
Absolutely. Think of it as the final safety check before operation. It ensures everything is properly configured and ready to go. Remember, this isn't just about passing an inspection. It's about preventing accidents before they happen.
Makes sense. Moving on to 1926.1441C, we get into operational procedures. Ideally, you're following the manufacturer's playbook to the letter right.
Right.
But what if those instructions are missing or the equipment's super specialized?
That's where 1926.1441C2 kicks in.
Okay.
Employers need to develop their own procedures and not just wing it.
Right.
This has to be done by someone qualified, especially when determining the equipment's capacity. 1926.1441C even calls for a registered professional engineer's sign-off on those capacity procedures.
Right.
This level of detail might seem excessive, but think about it. If you're lifting near its limit, even a small miscalculation can be disastrous.
Okay, so safety isn't just about knowing how to run the machine. It's about knowing what it can and can't do safely. And the operator needs easy access to all that info, load charts, procedures, even the manual, according to 1926.1441C3. What happens if the display with the rated capacities fails?
That's addressed in 1926.1441C3. Immediate shutdown or following safe shutdown procedures until that info is accessible again, whether electronically or in another form. This underlines the importance of backup plans and not solely relying on technology.
Right.
It's about being prepared for the unexpected.
This is where I start feeling like OSHA thought of everything. 1926.1441D even addresses anti-two blocking, which honestly sounds intense. Break that down for us. What's two blocking and why is it so bad?
Imagine the crane's arm fully extended upward and the hook block slams into the tip. That's two blocking.
Oh, wow.
It puts extreme stress on the system, potentially leading to catastrophic failure. For equipment made after November 8, 2010, 1926.1441D10 mandates either an anti-two-block device or a design that can withstand it without damage.
Whoa, so it's either preventing that situation altogether or ensuring the machine doesn't just crumple under pressure. That's got to factor into equipment choices for employers, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you start to see how these regulations influence not just daily operation, but the types of machines companies invest in.
Let's touch on operator and signal person training. 1926.1441E and F. It's not just about knowing the controls, is it?
Nope. OSHA requires training on safe operation practices for both roles. This goes beyond just the how-to and emphasizes understanding the why behind safety measures.
Right.
You need to know the risks involved and how to mitigate them effectively.
And speaking of obvious but important, 1926.1441AJ explicitly forbids hoisting personnel with this equipment. Like, duh, but worth stating right.
It reinforces the idea that these regulations are designed to prevent those should-be obvious incidents that can still have serious consequences. It's all about creating a culture of safety where even the seemingly simple things are handled with care.
Speaking of which, let's wrap up part 1 with 1926-1441K, the requirement for qualified engineer design. This circles back to what you said earlier about safety being baked in from the start, not an afterthought.
Exactly. And that's a key takeaway as we move forward. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dig even deeper into specific safety requirements and what they mean for you on the job. Welcome back to our deep dive. We're unraveling OSHA's 1926.1441, specifically tailored for you safety professionals, crane operators, and those aiming for that operator license.
Last time we saw how even equipment under 2,000 pounds lifting capacity falls under some serious regulations.
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing your machine, but understanding the whole safety ecosystem on site.
Exactly. And that's where those cross-references to Subpart CC come into play.
Right.
Remember 1926.1441A mentioning sections 1926.1407 through 1926.1411. That's all about power line safety.
Oh, right. Power lines are everywhere on construction sites, but with smaller equipment, it's easy to think, I'm not that close, it'll be fine.
That kind of thinking is how accidents happen. Even with these smaller machines, contact with power lines can be catastrophic. OSHA is super clear that employers need to take this seriously.
Okay, so what does taking it seriously actually look like? What should employers be doing to comply?
First off, before work even begins, the entire area needs to be assessed for overhead power lines.
Okay.
Identify those hazards early. Then it's about establishing safe distances between the equipment and those lines.
Okay.
That might mean using insulating barriers, having spotters to monitor clearances, or even de-energizing lines if necessary.
So it's a multi-pronged approach: awareness, physical safeguards, and even changing the environment itself if needed. Makes you realize this isn't just about the operator's skill, it's about everyone on site being on the same page.
Precisely. And that proactive mindset extends to equipment maintenance. 1926.14418 requires employers to adhere to the manufacturer's inspection procedures.
So we're not talking about a quick glance before starting work, right? This is more in depth than that.
It has to be. These inspections need to be thorough, systematic, following those manufacturer guidelines to catch any wear and tear damage or malfunctions that could compromise safety. Think of it like going to the doctor for a checkup early detection is key to preventing bigger problems down the road.
It's striking how much emphasis is placed on the manufacturer's recommendations throughout this document. Almost like a golden rule: follow those guidelines, unless absolutely impossible.
You're picking up on a key theme here, and 1926.1441B3 drives it home. Employers must comply with any manufacturer prohibitions. Even if OSHA doesn't specifically forbid something, if the manufacturer says don't, you don't.
It's like a double layer of safety: the manufacturer's expertise built into the machine itself, and then OSHA's regulations ensuring that's taken seriously on every job site.
A great way to put it. Now let's shift gears a bit. 1926.1441A points us to 1926.1425, which is about keeping clear of the load. Sounds pretty self-explanatory, right?
I mean, yeah, don't stand under the thing you're lifting. But I'm guessing there's more nuance to it than that.
There always is. This section gets specific about the responsibilities of both the operator and anyone working nearby. It's about creating that safe zone, ensuring no one is in the path of the load, and understanding that that zone can change depending on what you're lifting, the equipment being used, and even the surrounding environment.
So even if it seems like a small load, no cutting corners, no walking under it, just because it'll probably be fine.
Exactly. That probably is what gets people hurt. And it's not just about the load itself, it's the equipment's movement too.
Right.
A swinging load, an unexpected shift, these can create hazards just as serious as something falling straight down.
Speaking of things not falling straight down, 1926.1441A also brings up 1926.1426, which is all about controlled load lowering and preventing free falls. This feels crucial but easy to overlook when you're focused on the lifting part of the job.
It's a subtle but essential part of safe crane operation, no matter the size. This section covers using proper braking systems, ensuring the load descends smoothly to prevent damage or injury. Think about working with delicate materials or in an area where precision is key.
You'd need that control even more in those situations.
Yeah.
But it highlights how these rules apply broadly. So far, we've talked a lot about how to operate safely. But what about the equipment itself? Does 1926.1441 address modifying these machines?
It does, and this is where things get particularly stringent. 1926.1441 directs us to 1926.1434 for guidance on modification.
Okay.
Any changes to the equipment have to be done by qualified personnel following approved procedures and documented thoroughly.
I'm picturing someone deciding to weld on an extra hook just in case and it ending very badly.
That's exactly the kind of thing these regulations aim to prevent. Unauthorized modifications can compromise safety features, turn a safe machine into a hazard. So any changes need to be inspected, tested, and documented to ensure they haven't messed with the equipment's integrity or those crucial safety mechanisms.
It really hammers home how OSHA takes a holistic approach here. It's not just about what the operator does, it's about the equipment's design, its maintenance, the worksite environment. It's all connected.
And we've still got more to unpack. In Part 3, we'll explore how 1926.1441 connects to regulations for even larger equipment and what that means for building a comprehensive safety culture no matter what size machine you're working with.
Welcome back to the deep dive, folks. We're wrapping up our exploration of OSHA's 1926.1441, those regulations for equipment under 2,000 pounds lifting capacity.
Right.
If you're a safety pro crane operator or working towards your license, this info is gold, brought to you by Safety One Source.
Absolutely.
We've seen how these rules are about more than just the machine itself. It's the whole work environment, the procedures, even seemingly small details that can make a big difference in safety.
It really is, yeah.
Right? It's not just about avoiding the obvious don't get crushed scenarios. It's about that layered approach OSHA takes. But here's something that's been bugging me.
Yeah.
1926.1441 references sections from regulations for huge equipment, tower cranes, derricks, even floating cranes. Why would rules for these smaller machines need to pull from those giants?
That's a sharp observation, and it gets to the heart of OSHA's philosophy.
Okay.
While the equipment size varies, the underlying hazards remain consistent.
Right.
Stability load control, proximity to power lines, those are concerns whether you're operating a massive tower crane or a smaller piece of equipment.
So it's not about treating all machines the same. It's about recognizing the universal safety principles that apply across the board. Kind of like how physics works the same. Whether you drop a feather or a bowling ball, gravity doesn't care.
Exactly. By applying these core principles consistently, OSHA aims to create a safer work environment overall. Understanding those principles, not just memorizing rules, is what makes a truly effective safety professional or operator.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of understanding, let's circle back to 1926.1441E and F, the operator and signal person qualifications.
Okay.
Training is clearly a huge part of this.
Absolutely. OSHA mandates training for both roles, not just on how to operate the equipment, but on safe practices in general. It's about recognizing hazards, knowing the equipment's limits, and responding appropriately in different situations. This is where experience and theoretical knowledge come together.
It's like you can learn the steps to a dance from a book, but actually performing it smoothly and safely takes practice and understanding the music right.
That's a great analogy. Training is the foundation, but ongoing learning and adapting to real-world scenarios is how you truly master safe operation.
Yeah.
And that ties directly into building a strong safety culture on any job site.
And that's where resources like Safety One Source come in.
Absolutely.
They offer a wealth of training materials and support for safety professionals at all levels, helping everyone stay up to date and compliant.
Whether you're studying for your operator's license or managing safety for a large company, resources like that are invaluable.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've dissected 1926.1441, looked at specific requirements, and even zoomed out to see how it fits into the bigger picture of workplace safety.
But before we sign off, I want to leave you with this. Beyond ticking the boxes for OSHA compliance, how can you contribute to a culture of safety on work sites using this type of equipment? What steps can you take to ensure everyone goes home safe at the end of the day?
That's the real takeaway here. It's not just about knowing the rules, it's about applying them thoughtfully, being vigilant, and speaking up if something seems off. Safety is everyone's responsibility.
Well said. We encourage everyone to check out the full 1926.1441 document. The link is in the show notes. A huge thank you to Safety One Source for supporting this episode and for their dedication to workplace safety.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep learning.